In the desolate borderlands of the Ming dynasty, a steel fortress suddenly appeared. The people inside not only use modern weapons, but even steam trains and warships roam the streets. It's all because I transmigrated as Jude's fourth son, Ju Gaoxi. Me, with my mediocre talents, originally wanted to live a quiet life, but unexpectedly awakened the science and education for a new nation system. To prevent the Ming dynasty from heading towards ruin, I decisively petitioned Zhu Di, requesting to garrison Qiang Prefecture Island. I spent 10 years finally developing the island's technology to the steam age. Everyone on the island is armed with AK. Even the harbor is packed with steam warships. Just as I was preparing to land in Australia, emigrate to the Americas, and make my mark, Zhu Di suddenly brought a group of people to Qiang Prefecture for an inspection. In the distance, the once desolate island now had a magnificent city standing there. Its grandeur was no less than that of some major cities. Zhu Di was instantly shocked. A city this huge. You could tell him it was Hangzhou, not Qiang Prefecture, and he would have believed it. It wasn't until he set foot on Qiang Prefecture's soil that Zhu Di still found it hard to believe. The ground was made of a gray material he had never seen before. Bending down to tap it, he found it was as hard as stone, with no difference. As the emperor, he immediately thought of its strategic value. If a fortress were built with this, it would surely be indestructible. Zhu Di marveled, not expecting to encounter such a magical road surface right after arriving. In fact, it wasn't just him. Even the accompanying imperial grandson, Zhu Jianji, and his second son, Prince of Han, Zhu Gaoxu, couldn't help but squat down to examine the ground. Soon, many officials were also squatting down to observe it closely, muttering in amazement as they looked. Suddenly, they heard a delicate laugh. These people really haven't seen the world. Judas' old face immediately flushed red. He was the great emperor of the Ming dynasty, and this was the first time he'd been openly mocked. He quickly stood up and said calmly, "It seems Old Fourth's Qiang Prefecture is not so simple." Could it be as Zhu Gaoxu said? Did Old Fourth really come to Qiang Prefecture with traitorous intentions? It seems I really need to investigate this secretly. Then, he said to the crowd, "This time, we are on the island for an unannounced visit. Do not reveal our identities without my order. Do you all understand?" Everyone was startled and quickly agreed. Then, Zhu Di said again, "Jianji, go and find out what you can." But a moment later, Zhu Jianji was seen walking over with a middle-aged man. "Grandfather, this is a receptionist from the island. I hadn't even asked yet, and he came over on his own. I am Wu Kai, a receptionist for Qiang Prefecture Customs. This must be everyone's first time in Qiang Prefecture, right? Are you here for tourism, business, or to visit friends?" Hearing the words Qiang Prefecture Customs receptionist, Judas' brow furrowed again. Qiang Prefecture Customs? When was this department established? Why haven't I heard of it? We're here to visit friends. Could you tell us what the rules are on the island? Oh, visiting friends? That makes things easier. Wu Kai pointed to the huge customs building in the distance and said with a smile, "Everyone, please follow me to the customs office to apply for a visa. State who you are visiting, and after processing, you can enter the island. But I don't know what this visa is." The so-called visa is the island's travel permit. Behind Zhu Di, the Hanlin Academy scholar, Yang Rong, quickly took out his group's travel permits. "These permits, we all have them. I don't think we need to apply again, right?" But Wu Kai shook his head and smiled. "This permit is not that permit. My island's visa, besides being a permit, also has the arrival and departure dates on it. You must leave the island before the visa expires. Otherwise, if caught, you will be directly deported. Applying for a visa is not only for convenience, but also to prevent outsiders from overstaying illegally." Hearing him speak so formally, Zhu Gaoxu scoffed. "What a joke. Your Qiang Prefecture isn't paradise on earth. Who would come and not want to leave? Let alone Qiang Prefecture. Even the capital doesn't have such a rule of forced deportation." But Wu Kai just smiled and said, "Sir, don't be so sure. The capital might not even compare to my Qiang Prefecture. Every year, tens of thousands from Guangdong and Guangxi try to sneak onto the island. We at customs are overwhelmed by it. Tens of thousands of illegal immigrants every year?" After hearing this, Zhu Di couldn't help but look at Yang Rong with a questioning gaze. Such a major issue, why wasn't it reported? The Ming dynasty has a very strict household registration system. A migration of tens of thousands of people like this should have been reported, no matter what, yet the court heard nothing about this. Is someone deliberately hiding this? Or is there a conspiracy? Seeing the old master's expression, Yang Rong cried out inwardly in distress. Although he had previously served as Zhu's confidential secretary, he had truly never heard of this. At this moment, Wu Kai smiled again and said, "In recent years, outsiders all know that life in Qiang Prefecture is good, so naturally they don't want to suffer elsewhere. His Highness, the Prince of Qiyong, is also merciful. Whenever deporting illegal immigrants, he always gives them some travel money for their return journey. Because of this, everyone knows Qiyong Prefecture is wealthy, and the problem of illegal immigration has only gotten worse. When you all return, don't spread this around. If word gets out that subjects of the court are illegally immigrating here, wouldn't that be a slap in the emperor's face? As everyone listened to this, their hearts trembled. You say not to slap the emperor's face? Right now, the emperor has completely lost face. Thinking this, everyone's gaze involuntarily shifted to Zhu Di's face. The Duke of Ying, Zhang Fu, even placed his hand on his saber, ready to vent the emperor's anger at any moment. But in everyone's eyes, they saw Zhu Di, in his extreme anger, actually laughed. So, this Qiyong Prefecture is truly a paradise on earth, huh? We really must take a good look. As he spoke, his heart was already seething with rage. What do you mean they don't want to suffer elsewhere? What do you mean they can't survive? Could it be that my decade plus of careful rule is worse than your 10 years of development on an island? Let's go, well, all go and see just how wealthy this Qiyong Prefecture is, under the Prince of Qiyong. It was obvious to everyone that Zhu Di was already displeased with Zhu Gaoxi. Only Zhu Gaoxu was snickering to himself, silently praising, "Well done, old fourth, with you drawing all the fire, I have nothing to worry about." And so, with their own thoughts, the group continued towards the Qiyong Prefecture customs. Soon, Wu Kai led them to a service window and advised, "Everyone, I must remind you that firearms and knives are prohibited on the island. If you have any, you can store them here." This statement, however, caused Zhang Fu to retort with dissatisfaction. "No knives allowed. What if there's an assassin? If something happens, are we supposed to fight them barehanded?" But as soon as he finished speaking, he heard a mocking laugh from ahead. A well-dressed middle-aged man turned to look at them and laughed. "You must be from out of town, still carrying knives? What era is this? Assassins use guns now. Besides, Qiyong Prefecture has its own guards. It's very safe. You think this is still the Ming mainland, where there are thieves everywhere? Knives are strictly forbidden on the streets of Qiyong Prefecture. If you bring one in, you'll be fined." But Zhu Di's attention was clearly elsewhere. He looked kindly at the man and said, "According to what you've said, do the people of Qiyong Prefecture not use iron tools?" Seeing his polite demeanor, the middle-aged man explained, "Nowadays, most residents on the island use stainless steel. Those knives are far better than yours. Outsiders are strictly forbidden from bringing in knives." When Zhu Di heard the word stainless steel, he felt a surge of confusion. "But we've heard that this land of Qiyong Prefecture is full of Lai people, who are fierce. What if we encounter a Li uprising? How would we defend ourselves?" The Lai are the indigenous people of Qiyong Prefecture. After it came under Ming rule, many migrated to the southern part of the prefecture, but the conflict between the Lai and Han people has always been severe, with an uprising almost every 3 years. Neither military suppression nor negotiations could solve it. This historical conflict. Could a problem that hasn't been solved in 100 years have been solved by my old fourth? The middle-aged man just shook his head and smiled. "Old brother, I see you're not young, but your knowledge is lacking." Zhu Di humbly requested, "My good man, please continue." The middle-aged man spoke again. "Nowadays, there are no Li people in Qiyong Prefecture. Since the land reform 6 years ago, the Lai people became one of our Qiyong Prefecture ethnic groups. Now we call them our Li compatriots." The older generation was indeed short-tempered, but the new generation mostly learns Chinese characters and speaks Chinese. They get along harmoniously. At this, Yang Rong became interested. "So you're saying the Prince of Qiyong has implemented assimilation policies for other ethnic groups here in Qiyong Prefecture?" If Zhu Di was interested in military and economic matters, then as a scholar, he was interested in education. Hearing his question, the middle-aged man perked up. "You know, that's what I admire most about His Highness, the Prince of Qiyong. On this island, both Li and Han people are treated equally. He implemented compulsory education, but there's one catch. You need local household registration. Outsiders who want to move to Qiyong Prefecture must pay into the local Social Security. I've already paid for 5 years and have 5 more to go, but my 2 sons, the older one is 4, and the younger one is 2. In another 5 years, they'll be able to attend primary school. By then, we'll be considered people of Qiyong Prefecture. When we go back home, everyone will look up to us." But as Zhu Di and his group listened, they felt increasingly uneasy. In the Great Ming, the people with the highest status were undoubtedly the residents of the capital and wealthy merchants from various regions. Who wouldn't want to move to the capital? But here on Qiyong Prefecture Island, they found that almost everyone yearned for Qiyong Prefecture. It seemed they wouldn't trade a Qiyong Prefecture household registration even for immortality. What exactly did this place have that attracted these people? Zhu Di couldn't understand. This time, he originally came to teach his son a lesson and while at it, see old fourth, Zhu Gaoxis, miserable daily life. But now that he was here, everyone was praising Qiang Prefecture. This truly filled his heart with doubt. He was just about to ask more when he saw the line had reached them. Inside the window sat several pretty young women. Name, place of origin, purpose of visit. Jiang Fu, who was at the front, simply said, Jiang Fu. From Xiangfu, Henan, here to visit a friend. It's no wonder Jiang Fu acted this way. He had the capital to be arrogant. His father was Jiang Yu, a hero of the Jingnan campaign, and he himself had numerous military achievements, making him arguably the top general of the Ming dynasty. He also held titles like Grand Master for Glorious Happiness and Junior Protector of the State and Duke of Ying. In the Great Ming, Jiang Fu's name, while not thunderously famous, was far from unknown. But after he stated his name, the young woman acted as if she'd never heard it, not even looking up. Visiting a friend, right? Do you have your friend's detailed contact address? Hearing this, Jiang Fu frowned. After thinking for a moment, he spoke. I don't know where he is. I only know his name is Jiang Che. He's my third younger brother, currently serving in the Prince of Qiang's residence. But with this casual remark, the young woman's expression changed. What did you say? You are Jiang's, the Commander-in-Chief's older brother? Commander-in-Chief? Jiang Fu was also stunned. You're saying my good-for-nothing third brother is some commander-in-chief? In his heart, his two younger brothers, Jiang Sun and Jiang Ku, were both incompetent ne'er-do-wells. The second was a complete degenerate. He committed all sorts of mischief in the capital. As for the third, Jiang Qi, he was spoiled and arrogant. If not for him, their eldest brother, protecting them, who knows how much trouble they would have caused. Back then, when he heard the Prince of Qiang was heading south to his fief, he proactively petitioned to have his third brother, Jiang Ku, inserted into the retinue. His intention was to let the boy toughen up in this barbaric land. The result? Today, stepping onto this land, he hears that this brother he despised has become the commander-in-chief here. He, the great Duke of Ying of the Ming, at this Qiang Prefecture checkpoint, actually has to rely on his good-for-nothing brother's name to verify his identity. This is simply absurd. Just then, a middle-aged man quickly walked out from an inner room. It was the official named Wu Kai from before. He came before the group with a slight, wry smile on his face and cupped his hands. Your Excellencies, since you are relatives of Commander-in-Chief Zhang, why didn't you say so earlier? If we had known, you wouldn't have needed to go through these tedious entry procedures and paperwork. Just as they began to relax at the mention of the Zhang residence, they heard Zhu Di next to them scoff coldly. How ridiculous. Everyone else needs documents to enter the island, but you get to skip it because of connections. From the looks of it, this culture of official cronyism is rampant in Qiang Prefecture. The sliver of a good impression Judy had just formed instantly vanished because of this special treatment. Seeing this, Wu Kai quickly bowed and explained, Your Excellency, please calm down. The entry inspection is mainly to prevent vagrants from overstaying illegally. Since you are close relatives of Commander-in-Chief Zhang, you naturally wouldn't stay here illegally. This isn't a case of officials protecting each other. It's just a special case handled with discretion, which is reasonable. But Zhu Di flicked his sleeve and turned away, clearly unwilling to engage with him any further. The atmosphere became a bit awkward. Zhu Zhangji stepped forward in time to smooth things over. Old sir, please don't mind him. My grandfather was just speaking casually. Since special arrangements can be made, we'll have to trouble you. Please lead us through customs. Wu Kai cupped his hands in a fist again. Everyone, please follow me. He then led the group directly towards the checkpoint. At the barrier, a staff member was using a black iron plate to scan people. Zhu Zhangji asked curiously, May I ask what this is for? Wu Kai smiled and said, This is a security check. We use magnets to prevent people from smuggling in regulated blades. But you all are exempt, as long as you don't have firearms. You can go in first. Zhu Gaoxu immediately retorted, Who would carry that stuff around? Although the Ming dynasty had firearms, the three-eyed arquebuses of the time were heavy and slow to load. Few people would carry them. Wu Kai smiled without asking further and led them into the customs hall. Inside, people came and went, and there were transparent windows everywhere. What amazed them most was the floor, smooth as jade, reflecting their silhouettes in the setting sun. Zhu Di exclaimed in amazement, How can this place be so luxurious? This is just the customs house. If your princely manor in the city is like this, isn't it even more extravagant than my own imperial palace? Zhu Gaoxu thought to himself, just how much wealth has the fourth brother plundered to afford such extravagance? Seeing their reaction, Wu Kai laughed. This is nothing. When it comes to luxury, the Prince of Qiang's manor is number one. You'll know what a paradise is when you see it. But Zhu Di, at that moment, let out a cold shout. His Majesty, the Hongwu Emperor of the Great Ming, lived a hard life and remained frugal even after ascending the throne. What virtue does the Prince of Qiang have to live so lavishly here? He is truly an unworthy son. As soon as he finished speaking, several cold stares were cast their way. The usually smooth Wu Kai's face turned grim. Sir, watch your words. In Kyong Prefecture, you absolutely cannot speak ill of the Prince of Kyong. Kyong Prefecture's success today is all thanks to him. Back then, Gyeongshan County was remote with a population under 100,000. Now it's thriving. It was the prince who spent his own money to recruit migrants, build factories, and help the common people prosper. The prince ignored his own family matters to enroll commoners in schools for advanced studies. Without the Prince of Kyong, how could we be officials today? We might have starved to death long ago. In Kyong Prefecture, you can criticize anyone, but you cannot criticize the Prince of Kyong. Let's just forget what you said earlier, Your Excellency. After entering the island, do not mention it again, or you will bear the consequences. Ju Di was stunned. He had thought Wu Kai was a silver-tongued sycophant, yet the man turned hostile the moment he scolded his fourth son. Could the fourth brother's prestige in Kyong Prefecture really be this high? Ju Gaoxu, however, ever the troublemaker, pressed, if one were to insult the Prince of Kyong here, would they be arrested by the government? Wu Kai looked at him seriously and said word for word, getting arrested by the government would be the good outcome. I'm afraid you'd be beaten to death by the common people before you're even arrested. Remember, in Kyong Prefecture, the Prince of Kyong is heaven. To insult him is to invite death. After that, Wu Kai turned and left. The group stood there, Wu Kai's words echoing in their ears. In Kyong Prefecture, the Prince of Kyong is heaven. To insult him is to invite death. Good. So now he's not even pretending anymore. Who would believe you aren't plotting a rebellion, fourth brother Zhu? Ju Di suddenly turned to Yang Rong. Yang Rong, what do you make of this? After a long silence, Yang Rong cupped his hands and replied without knowing. The full picture. I cannot comment. Ju Di sneered. Fine, Grand Secretary. Second son Janji, what do you two think? Ju Gaoxu immediately chimed in. What else is there to think? Mobilize the troops. Father the fourth brother is about to rebel. Zhu Janji hesitated, then also replied, without knowing the full picture, I cannot comment. The situation in the Great Ming is complicated right now. Jianwen's whereabouts are unknown, and the court is short on talent. Both second uncle and fourth uncle are extraordinary men. Zhu Janji had long learned to hide his true thoughts, knowing his grandfather wanted to see his attitude towards his family, not his real opinions. Hearing this, Ju Di sneered. You are also one to fish in troubled waters. He wasn't actually worried about the Prince of Kyong rebelling. The Great Ming's resources far surpassed Kyong Prefecture's. He was just curious. In the first year of the Yongle era, Kyong Prefecture's registered population was less than 400,000. Now, Gyeongshan County alone is close to that, a several-fold increase in just 11 years. It's illogical. As everyone was lost in thought, Yang Rong spoke up. This matter is not hard to deduce. Your Majesty, do you remember the Annam campaign in the 5th year of the Yongle era? During that campaign, when Jiaoji was not yet pacified, a population count came up short by 280,000 households. At the time, it was assumed they had gone to sea to become pirates. But in all these years, there has been no news of related pirates. Add this population to Kyong Prefecture's original Lai residents and migrants from Guangdong and Guangxi, and you get Kyong Prefecture's current population size. Zhu Di, however, waved his hand to cut him off. I originally thought you were poaching people from the Great Ming. But after hearing this, I realized the Annam population you took in actually weakened the Jiaoji rebels. The migrants you accepted were also prevented from causing trouble locally. The Prince of Kyong is not only blameless, but has, in fact, performed a great service, Zhu Di muttered to himself. This little rascal really has some skills. He takes in people just like that. Being able to stir things up means he's my son. He was never afraid of his sons being wild, only that his sons had no ability. At 16, you came to this poor place and built such an enterprise. Your ability far surpasses the one-sided talents of Zhu Gaoqi and Zhu Gaoxu. In a daze, a thought crossed his mind. Could it be that the fourth son is the most suitable to be emperor? He immediately dismissed the idea. It's no wonder Zhu Di would reject this thought. You had always been unreliable in his eyes. Not only did you associate with all sorts of unsavory characters and refuse to read the sage classics, but you also proclaimed that the Chengzhou school of Neo-Confucianism was flawed. If not for your status as a prince, you would have been condemned by the scholar officials long ago. Censors often submitted memorials accusing you of not attending to proper duties. Zhu Di had reprimanded you, but not only did you not listen, you even came up with a new school of thought, advocating the unity of knowledge and action, seeking truth from facts, and even leading the sons of nobility to plow fields and raise pigs. In Zhu Di's eyes, this was a disgrace to the literati. Even if you achieved success in Kyong Prefecture, there was absolutely no possibility of you inheriting the throne. The throne must be co-governed with the scholar officials. Opposing the Chengzhou school is opposing all the scholars in the world. You couldn't rule stably. Your lordship. There's news, Wu Kai's. Call pulled Zhu Dai from his thoughts. Zhu Zhanji leaned in to explain. Customs has already telegraphed the Zhang residents. Fourth uncle and General Zhang are in the southern sea inspecting new warships and will take a few days to return. The Prince of Qiang's manor has sent someone to meet us. Once they arrive, we can enter the island. We'll just have to wait a few days to see General Zhang. Zhu Di waved his hand. Good. In these few days, we'll see exactly what Qiang Prefecture is like. Is the liaison Zhao Rui? Zhao Rui is the Prince of Qiang's chief steward, and Zhang Yue is another of your trusted confidants. They are the only ones who can recognize us. Zhu Zhanji shook his head. No, it's a minor official from the manor, Yu Qian. He's from Qiantang. He came to the island 3 years ago to study the School of Mind and is trusted by fourth uncle, Yu Qian. He must be another unlearned scoundrel. Zhu Di didn't pay it much mind. In his eyes, anyone who would actively study the heterodox School of Mind must be a rebellious person. He then seized on the key point. What is this telegram? This place is far from the city. How could news get back to the manor so quickly? Zhu Zhanji couldn't answer either, only saying, it's said it can transmit messages over 1,000 li. Zhu Gaoxu interjected. What's so strange about that? Our border beacon towers can also send messages 1,000 li. Before Zhu Di could think on it, Wu Kai approached them again. Lord Yu Qian is coming on the shuttle bus. Everyone, please follow me to the platform to wait for the vehicle to the city. Zhu Dai and the others were stunned. Carriages run on a schedule? Following Wu Kai out of the customs house, they saw below the platform a large number of iron tracks laid out. Zhu Gaoxu exclaimed, my goodness, how much iron did this take? Pig iron was a controlled resource in the Great Ming. He had spent a fortune just to secretly build weapons. His fourth brother was so wasteful. He wanted to go down for a closer look but was stopped by Wu Kai. Your Excellency, come back quickly. You can get near the railway. The train is coming. As soon as he spoke, a loud noise came from the distance and the iron rails began to tremble. Zhu Gaoxu turned to look. He saw a black iron monster roaring towards them. Mama! What the hell is that? Zhang Fu instantly drew his sword, shielded Zhu Di, and shouted, protect his majesty! There's a monster. Zhu Di stared at the colossal beast, shocked to his core. So this is a train? Such a long hunk of iron was actually called a vehicle. Zhu Di was completely stunned, staring at the train before him. In his understanding, the grandest vehicle was the Son of Heaven's two-wheeled, 5-horse chariot. But this iron box not only had no horses, it had an unknown number of wheels. It completely defied the worldview of the Great Ming. Father, help me from the distance, Zhu Gaoxus. Cry for help broke his train of thought. He saw Zhu Gaoxu running frantically along the tracks. Zhu Di ordered Zhang Fu, save him. Zhang Fu gritted his teeth, jumped onto the tracks, and ran towards Zhu Gaoxu. He then grabbed him and leaped forcefully to the side. Just as the two of them left the tracks, the train roared past, blocking everyone's view. Second son Zhu Di panicked at the sight, but Wu Kai wiped his sweat and said with a smile, it's fine. As long as you're not on the tracks, you're safe. At this moment, Yang Rong moved closer to Zhu Dai, his voice trembling. Your Majesty, how can this thing be a product of human hands? A colossal iron beast that moves on its own, if used on the battlefield, no matter how strong. An army formation it couldn't be stopped. Zhu Di was silent. The facts were right in front of him. Any argument would seem like a cover for his unease. Grandfather, Zhu Zhanji's call came. Zhu Di turned and saw a tall and straight young man stride forward, bow and salute. I am Yu Qian, an official from the Prince of Qiang's manor. Might you be Commander Zhang's brothers? Indeed we are. As a manor official, why come to greet us personally? Zhu Di asked casually. Yu Qian smiled and said, the prince instructed that Qiang Prefecture is different from the outside world, making it hard for outsiders to adapt. Moreover, Commander Zhang's brother, General Zhang Fu, is the Duke of Yingguo. He would not come here lightly. It must be that the emperor has come to issue a decree, so I must greet you properly. Zhu Di narrowed his eyes. No one on this island recognizes the Duke of Yingguo, yet you do. The Prince of Qiang is cautious in his affairs. But Yu Qian shook his head and said, the Prince of Qiang is open and honorable, with no rebellious intentions. Why the need for caution? I recognize General Zhang from studying the court's officials before coming to Qiang Prefecture. In fact, it was the Prince and Commander Zhang who did not know that General Zhang had been ennobled as the Duke of Yingguo. Zhu Di nodded to himself and asked again, you are from Qiantang. Why not go to the capital to study for the imperial exams and serve the court? Yu Qian retorted. Sir, do you think a scholar's pursuit should prioritize knowledge or career prospects? Zhu Di replied, naturally, knowledge comes first. Precisely, Yu Qian smiled. In the capital, there are great Confucian scholars, but there is no great knowledge. Qiong Prefecture may be remote, but it has a great, unrecognized talent like the Prince of Qiong. To leave Qiong Prefecture for the capital would be to forsake what is near for what is far. That is not the way to seek knowledge. Zhu Di was displeased. Are you saying the great scholars in the capital are inferior to the Prince of Qiong? Yu Qian's expression was calm. That's not quite right. In my humble opinion, it's not just the great scholars of the capital. Looking back through the thousands of years of Chinese history, there has never been anyone with such great knowledge as the Prince of Qiong. Even Confucius himself might have fallen short in some aspects. Zhu Di's eyes widened. This flattery had gone so far as to claim Confucius was inferior to his fourth son. This was utterly heretical. As soon as Yu Qian finished, Yang Rong exploded with anger. What arrogant nonsense! How dare you insult the sage? Yu Qian retorted. When did I insult the sage? Yang Rong shouted. Confucius is the model teacher for all ages sages like Mencius and Zhu Xi. All revered Confucius and followed his teachings. Even the Prince of Qiong wouldn't dare compare himself to Confucius, yet you claim Confucius is inferior to him. This is killing with praise. It's disrespectful to both Confucius and the Prince of Qiong. Do you know your crime? Sir, you misheard me. Yu Qian's face was calm. I said Confucius might have fallen short in some aspects, not that he was inferior. The former implies potential shortcomings, while the latter means he was completely surpassed. The two are worlds apart. Yang Rong was still unconvinced. Then tell me, in what way does Confucius fall short of the Prince of Qiong? Yu Qian pointed to the train. For example, this object, the Prince of Qiong built it. Could Confucius build it? Yang Rong was instantly speechless. Never mind Confucius, even if all the sages in history worked together, they couldn't build this hunk of iron. Beside them, Zhu Zhanji couldn't help but chuckle. Yang Rong immediately flushed red. Zhu Di shot Zhu Zhanji a glare and smoothed things over. He does have a silver tongue. When it comes to ingenious contraptions, the Prince of Qiong is indeed number one. This both gave Yang Rong a way out and put Zhu Gaoxu in his place. Yu Qian didn't dwell on it and changed the subject. Everyone, let's not delay. The next train is arriving soon. Let's board first. By the way, which of you is the Duke of Yingguo? His gaze fell on Zhu Di, who had the most commanding presence. But then, everyone suddenly remembered Zhu Gaoxu. In the distance, Wu Kai and Zhang Fu were supporting him as he walked over, his head bleeding. He was holding a handkerchief to his head. Upon seeing Zhu Di, Zhu Gaoxu fell to his knees and cried out, Father, that monster almost prevented me from ever seeing you again at first. Zhu Di showed some concern, but seeing his pathetic state, his face grew cold. If you're not dead, get up. You're a grown man. Don't be a disgrace. He then ordered his guards to help him up and turned to the others. Let's get on the train first. Seeing this, Yu Qian frowned. Was there an assailant? Zhu Zhanji suppressed a laugh and said, That's my second uncle. He thought the tracks were interesting and went down to look, but he fell. Luckily, the Duke of Yingguo saved him. Yu Qian looked at Zhang Fu and hurried forward to inquire about his injuries. Zhang Fu asked, You know me? Yu Qian explained his purpose. Zhang Fu looked towards Zhu Di. Zhu Di waved his hand. Enough nonsense. Get on the train. They all boarded the train. As soon as Zhu Zhanji sat down, he asked, When does this train depart? Yu Qian replied, It leaves once all the passengers have boarded. There's usually one every hour. Zhu Di was pensive. This train has several carriages, all for carrying people, Yu Qian explained. It can also transport livestock, grain, and coal. It's mainly for people now because it's the peak tourist season. Zhu Di pressed, If it were filled with grain, how much could it carry? Yu Qian did a quick mental calculation. If it's specially loaded with grain, about 50,000 shi. One train can carry 50,000 shi? Zhu Zhanji's body jolted. Zhu Di was even more stunned, his face filled with disbelief. This was simply incredible. One horse-drawn cart could only carry 2.5 shi of grain. 50,000 shi of grain would require 20,000 carts, 20,000 laborers, and 20,000 horses. Factoring in losses from long-distance transport, it would actually require over 100,000 dan of grain, 40,000 laborers, and 40,000 horses. Yet this train before them could do the work of 40,000 men. Zhu Di suppressed his shock and asked, What does this train consume when fully loaded with grain? Yu Qian answered, It depends on the distance. One cart of coal can travel 200 li. 1 li consumes 500 jin of coal. This vehicle actually burns coal? Zhu Di's eyes narrowed. He had known about coal for a long time. In fact, when you were a child, you proposed mining the smokeless coal from Beiping's western hills, but he rejected it due to stereotypes. Thinking back, if he hadn't refused back then, the Great Ming might have already had. With the train, the northern expedition wouldn't be stalled by Zhu Gaoxi's excuses about coal money. Had he really been wrong about him back then? Guilt and uncertainty flickered across his face. The noise outside the train pulled him back to his thoughts. Commoners boarded the train with their families, laughing and bustling, a lively scene. A smile touched Judas' lips. This picture of peace and prosperity proved his prejudice against his fourth son ran too deep. Then, a thought popped into his head. If his fourth son could build a train, so could he, Zhu Di. The Great Ming was vast and abundant. A train could reduce governance costs, quell rebellions, and save on losses. For the country and its people, it was a great benefit. He adjusted his mindset regarding the matter. He asked Yu Qian, "May I ask, what is the cost to build this train?" Yu Qian replied, "A locomotive is 200,000 taels, and a single carriage is 100,000 taels. 20 carriages with 2 locomotives would cost over 4 million taels. The key is the railway track. Back then, for the first 30 li section in Cheongzhou, 1 li of track cost 110,000 taels of silver. Now, although it's dropped to 60,000 taels per li, for over 600 li, the total cost of the railway would reach 40 million taels, not including research and workshop costs." Zhu Di and Zhu Zhanji looked at each other, with nothing but bitterness in their eyes. The Great Ming's total annual silver income from trade was only a little over 3 million taels, not enough to build a single locomotive. Even if they sold all the year's grain and goods, the total income would be 30 million taels at most. Without eating or drinking, they still couldn't build a railway on the scale of Cheongzhou's. With the Great Ming's current economic situation, building a railway independently was simply impossible. As the grandfather and grandson shared a bitter smile, the train whistle blew, the heavy carriages slowly began to move, and the passengers started to admire the sea view outside. Zhu Di, however, leaned against the window, his heart full of sorrow. This one railway and its locomotives would cost the Great Ming 2 years of tax revenue. The train was as fast as a swift horse, but its transport capacity was 10,000 times greater. The amount of manpower and resources it could save was incalculable, but the cost made him shrink back. The Great Ming's treasury couldn't support such an investment. The project would take years, and resistance in the court would surely be immense. And yet, you managed to do it with the dirt-poor Cheongzhou. This both shocked and baffled him. How could the boy, he remembered, have such determination to abandon a life of luxury and start from scratch in the southern borderlands? He suddenly realized that he had never truly understood this son of his. He had even guarded against him like a thief, which only made family matters more complicated. His heart in turmoil, he asked in a hoarse voice, "Fourth son, as the Prince of Qiong, these years must have been difficult for you, haven't they?" Yu Qian said with emotion. "The people say the Prince of Qiong faced danger several times. When reclaiming farmland, he was bitten by insects and snakes. When suppressing the Li people's rebellion, he personally faced perilous situations. In the Battle of Dohai Dao, his body was struck by arrows, but every time, he charged to the front." He also said, in the past, the King of Song rose to fame during the decline of the imperial family because the Son of Heaven was self-reliant. Today, the Son of Heaven guards the nation's gate. How can we of this generation be content to lag behind? Zhu Di was lost in thought as he listened, his lips moving slightly, but no words came out. The Son of Heaven guards the nation's gate. These words perfectly captured his original intention for moving the capital to Beeping and launching several northern expeditions. He only wanted to cripple the grassland tribes and protect the northern border so the people could live in peace. But the entire court, civil and military officials alike, condemned him for being a warmonger. The crown prince thought he was causing trouble. Only this son, far away in the southern borderlands, understood him. "He has suffered," Zhu Di sighed. His heart filled with complex emotions. He fell silent. Beside him, Zhu Zhanji noticed his grandfather's mood was off. Just as he was about to change the subject, he suddenly pointed out the window. "Oh no, there's a fire over there." Everyone looked and saw a building in the fields, billowing thick smoke. Zhu Gaoxu exclaimed as if watching a spectacle. Zhu Di frowned and said to Yu Qian, "We must put out the fire quickly before it burns the crops." But Yu Qian smiled calmly. "Everyone, rest assured, that isn't a fire. It's the Cheongzhou steel mill smelting steel." Everyone was amused and curious how steelmaking could create such a scene. As the train passed, they saw the steel mill's giant chimneys billowing smoke. Its scale far surpassed the Great Ming's 13 iron smelters. Zhu Di couldn't help but ask, "How much steel can a mill like this produce in a year?" Yu Qian stated frankly, "Cheongzhou currently has 5 steel mills. Last year, they produced 900,000 tons of steel. That's about 1.8 billion caddies. This year, it's expected to reach 1 million tons." This stunned everyone. Zhu Gaoxu was especially shocked. The Great Ming's total annual pig iron production was less than a tenth of Cheongzhou's. He had spent over 10,000 taels to buy 100,000 caddies of pig iron for his army, yet his fourth brother could produce 1.8 billion caddies a year. This foundation made him secretly pleased. With his fourth brother in the spotlight, his old man probably wouldn't have time to bother him. Ju Di and Ju Jianji, however, felt their limbs go numb. This output was beyond their comprehension. What does Kyungjo do with so much iron in a year? Ju Di suppressed his shock and pressed for an answer. Yukian explained, steel is the foundation of Kyungjo's industry. It's used for railway tracks, trains, machinery, daily utensils, and even buildings. For example, the customs house and the docks used over 10,000 tons of steel during their construction. Now, with a production of 1 million tons, there is still a high demand for labor. Ju Di was stunned. He had never thought iron could be used for building houses, but having seen Kyungjo's architecture with his own eyes, he felt that adding iron did indeed make them sturdier. But if his descendants were to fight amongst themselves in the future, how could such city defenses be breached? Another worry was added to his heart. Ju Jianji, sensing how formidable his fourth uncle was, took the initiative to ask, where does Kyungjo get so much iron ore? Yu Qian replied, Kyungjo itself has mines. The Prince of Kyong prospected and discovered rich iron ore deposits. They are open-pit mines that can be excavated right below the topsoil. The reserves are about 400 million tons. At the current rate, it can be mined for several decades. Ju Jianji's heart sank. So, his fourth uncle had planned this far ahead, but the mineral resources would eventually be depleted. Yu Qian's tone shifted. The Prince of Kyong is already planning to head south to Australia. It's said that place is south of the southern seas. It's vast and extremely rich in minerals. In the future, most of Kyungjo's people will immigrate there. The Prince of Kyong wants to immigrate to Australia? Ju Di and Ju Jianji exclaimed in shock at the same time. Could it be that his fourth son never intended to return to the Great Ming and rebel, but instead wanted to explore outwards? Perhaps all their previous worries were for naught. At this moment, Ju Di feared both that he would rebel and that he would not. For Ju Di, if the Great Ming Empire he had fought so hard to build was seen by his youngest son as inferior to Australia, it would not only be a rejection of the family's legacy, but also a negation of his life's work. He felt both relieved and disappointed. For Ju Jianji, just as he had started to see his fourth uncle as a rival for the throne, the man wanted to immigrate, rejecting his own birthright. He felt small-minded and suspected it was a smokescreen. After all, Chinese strategy values deception. Kyungjo's steel production forced him to be on his guard. So, Ju Jianji pressed, may I ask Yu Qian? Where is Australia located? Yu Qian replied, it's rumored to be southeast of Borneo. The Prince of Kyong has determined it's over 5,000 li from Kyongjo and over 600 li from Borneo's Diwan Island. Ju Di frowned. The Great Ming's knowledge of the southern seas mostly came from Zheng He's voyages. Zheng He had never been to the southern hemisphere. Was there a continent south of Borneo? Yang Rong, who had been silent, suddenly stood up. My lord, have you forgotten? 4 years ago, when Zheng He returned to court, he presented a yellow rabbit as tall as a man with a pouch. The envoy from Borneo said this creature came from a large southern island. The island is vast, but mostly desert. After a shipwreck, they headed south. Zheng He never explored it. I believe the Australia the Prince of Kyong speaks of is this island. Yu Qian nodded in confirmation. Ju Di was still puzzled. If it's a desert, how can people live there? Yu Qian explained. Only the northern part of this island is desert. The south is like the land of the Shui people, fertile enough to support a population. Furthermore, there are many mines beneath the desert. The island's gold production is the highest in the world. Immigrating to Australia is just a temporary measure. In the Prince of Kyong's plan, once the base in Australia is established, he will also begin immigration to the Gold Coast, a continent in the Far East. The terrain is flat, and the soil is fertile. It can support a population, and its mineral resources are even richer than Australia's. The crowd murmured at these words. Zhu Gaoxu muttered, the Gold Coast. Does it really exist? Is it covered in gold? He suddenly felt the throne wasn't so appealing anymore. Lying around and enjoying life on the Gold Coast would be much more comfortable than the hard work of being an emperor. Ju Jianji said coldly, how could there be such a good thing? In his heart, however, he was convinced his fourth uncle was fabricating legends to win over the people, but Ju Di stroked his long beard. I, on the other hand, think the Gold Coast might actually exist. There should be a continent to the east. Grandfather Ju Jianji grew anxious. This is clearly a story to fool children. How can you believe it? Jianji, be quiet for now. Ju Di raised a hand to stop the eager Ju Jianji. He knew his grandson too well and understood that he suspected these words were a smokescreen, but he felt Ju Jianji was being too hasty. He believed the Gold Coast existed not because of Yu Qian, but because a 15-year-old Zhu Gaosui had once mentioned a continent to the east. At that time, he had no motive to deceive. It was only after being refused that he requested to be enfeoffed in Qiangzhou to explore on his own. Now, Qiangzhou has risen from a wasteland. His words were naturally credible. More importantly, to admit that he was right would be to admit that he himself had been wrong back then. But the emperor could absolutely not be wrong. After Yu Qian left, Zhu Di questioned Zhu Zhanji. "You don't believe your fourth uncle?" Zhu Zhanji lowered his head in panic. But Zhu Di held up a finger and lectured, "You can distrust outsiders, but you must never distrust your own family." Throughout history, how many generations have been ruined by the slander of petty men? Why did Emperor Jianwen lose his throne? Because he trusted outsiders and slaughtered his own kin instead of trusting his closest relatives. Although the royal family contends for the throne, you cannot let blood ties turn to slaughter and mutual suspicion. When foreign enemies invade and the dynasty collapses, who can you rely on but the arms of your own kin? If you don't trust them, who can you count on for help in the future? Zhu Zhanji lowered his head and admitted his mistake. But Zhu Di continued to scold him coldly. "You're only half-baked. Don't think you can treat everyone as pawns just because you've learned a few political tricks. You and your second uncle are far less decent than your father. Go back and learn more about virtue. Remember, a person without integrity is good for nothing. Your fourth uncle built his enterprise in Qiangzhou on the trust of the people. Why would he deceive you? If your family loses credibility in the world, if you dare speak such nonsense again, go copy the Lunyu 3,000 times. Zhu Zhanji's face flushed red, deeply ashamed. He finally realized his own narrow-mindedness. He asked again, "Grandfather, is there really a land of gold everywhere?" Zhu Di glanced at him and smiled. "We won't know unless we explore, will we?" Ambition was already burning in his heart. The Great Ming's territory had reached its limits. If there truly was a new continent to the east, it would be a chance for a historic achievement of expanding the empire, surpassing the Han and Tang dynasties. Even in his old age, he would use the rest of his life to accomplish another earth-shattering deed. When he saw Zhu Yuanzhang in the afterlife, he could proudly call himself the greatest emperor of all time. Yu Qian returned to the carriage and saw Zhu Di and the others looking dejected. "What's wrong, everyone?" "It's nothing." Zhu Di changed the subject, his gaze falling on the teacup. "Could this tea be a product of Qiangzhou?" Yu Qian smiled and introduced it. "Indeed, this is Wujishan tea from Qiangzhou. Its amber liquor and honey aroma are the Prince of Qiang's favorite. Qiangzhou has another treasure, beer. It's made from malt and hops. When chilled, it completely dispels the summer heat and refreshes the soul. There's such a wondrous thing." Zhu's mouth watered. He decided he must try it once they entered the city. "But first, we must go to the hospital to treat Zhu Gaoxu's wound." Yu Qian said, "Yes, the wound that needs to drain blood." Only then did Zhu Di remember his rebellious son's wound and ask about it. Zhu Gaoxu was touched. "Dad, let's go drinking first." Zhu Di sighed softly. He secretly decided to send him to the Gold Coast to expand the territory in the future. With his mind made up, Zhu Di turned to Yu Qian. "Entering Qiangzhou has been a real eye-opener. But about the telegraph, the docks, building materials, please, Yu Qian, enlighten me. This telegraph sounds incredible." Yu Qian stated frankly, "The Earth is a large sphere with magnetic poles. Magnetism can generate electricity, and heat can be converted to electricity. The telegraph machine relies on electric currents to transmit messages. Currently, Qiangzhou has over 60 telegraph machines fully covering the customs office. They informed me of your arrival through it. Right now, it can transmit over 1 or 200 li. Transmitting over 1,000 li will be possible in a few years." Hearing this, everyone looked at each other in dismay. Zhu Di was even more shocked. Qiangzhou's technology had far surpassed the Great Ming's. He resolved to send officials south to learn the skills upon his return, to gather the Great Ming's strength and catch up. Could it be that he, the great Yongle Emperor, was no match for his own fourth son? "Everyone, this is Qiangshan Railway Station. We have now entered Qiangshan City." As soon as the train came to a steady halt, Yu Qian stood up to lead the way. But Zhu Di and his sons seemed somewhat dazed, still immersed in what they had just seen and heard on the train. The telegraph, cement factory, screw factory, steam engine, the novel things Yu Qian explained along the way had already overturned their understanding of creation, especially the train. It was by no means as simple as boiling water for steam. For instance, the rubber used for the seals had to be grown from seeds from the Gold Coast and cultivated in Qiangzhou for 6 years. Components like bearings and gears required countless prerequisite technologies to support them. What shocked them even more was that the source of all this was him. The blueprints were drawn by him, the machinery was hand-built by him with blacksmiths, and the fundamental theories were also derived by him. In Kyongjo, he was already a heaven-sent sage in the mouths of the people, allowing not a single word of criticism. He only studied Confucian classics before. How could he have such skills? The more Ju-di thought, the more suspicious he became. As he got off the train, he pulled Ju Gaoksu aside. "Did you notice anything unusual about him back then?" Ju Gaoksu clutched his head and complained, "I was always in the military camp back then. I barely had contact with him. I only remember when I taught him to ride. He said he was Su Hui from before the city wall. I thought it was nonsense. Now, it seems it might be true." Ju-di muttered the name Su Hui and took out a plum essence pill to swallow. Ju Gaoksu eyed it greedily and begged for one. Just as he pocketed it, he heard Yu Qian call out that the carriage was ready. "First to the hospital to treat the wound, then we'll have a meal." Outside the station, everyone was stunned. 4- and 5-story tall buildings stood in neat rows. The concrete streets were bustling with traffic and noisy with people, but there wasn't a trace of filth. It was a scene of prosperity they had never witnessed before. Ju-di sighed. "To think the southern borderlands have such a magnificent sight." Yu Qian explained, "This is the new city. The old parts are still like a small county." Afterward, he boarded the carriage with Ju-di. Inside, Ju-di looked at the women's cheongsams outside the window and frowned slightly. For women to show their legs, what has the world come to? But Yu Qian laughed and said, "Kyongjo is hot all year round." The cheongsam designed by the Prince of Kyong is already more modest than the previous fashion of revealing one's chest. Ju-di felt a bit embarrassed. Then his attention was drawn back by Ju Gaoksu's exclamation. By the street, a woman in a cheongsam had her legs wrapped in a translucent fabric, outlining her slender figure. "Yu Qian, what's that thing on her legs?" Ju Gaoksu couldn't take his eyes off her. "Those are the new silk stockings that came out this year. The women of Cheongjo all love to wear them." As soon as Yu Qian finished speaking, Ju Gaoksu's gaze became even more fixed. As the carriage moved through the bustling streets, Judi's eyes were drawn to the shops on both sides. Unlike in the Great Ming, the shops in Cheongjo were not wide open to welcome customers, but had only small doors. Next to the doors stood transparent glass. "Shopkeeper, this glass is the foundation of Cheongjo's industry. In the beginning, we got our start by selling glass and handicrafts," Yu Qian explained at the right moment. "In the Great Ming, a large piece costs 100 taels. Here, glass costs only 10 taels." Judi's heart sank. If transported to Liangguang, the profit would be tenfold. In the long run, wouldn't all of the Great Ming's wealth flow here? He knew well that the court was short on silver and was promoting Bao Chao currency to alleviate the hardship. Such a price difference was hard for him to accept. "Your Highness is overthinking it," Yu Qian shook his head. "Although the prices of goods in Cheongjo are low, they are not affordable for the common people. The buyers are mostly high officials and nobles. They often bury their gold and silver, so it's better to let the money circulate. Cheongjo needs to buy timber and silk from the Great Ming. The money will eventually flow back, and it also allows the common people to earn an income. And the court gets commercial taxes," Zhu Zhanji added timely. "Grandfather, the tax revenue from Liangguang has indeed increased a lot in recent years." At this moment, Yu Qian pointed out the window. "The hospital is here. Please, everyone, alight." Ju-di looked up and saw the sign Kyongshan First Hospital below, which was a building far exceeding the scale of the Imperial Academy of Medicine. "Why is this medical hall built so grandly?" Yu Qian explained. "The people of Kyongshan all need to come to the hospital for treatment of their illnesses. There are 4 hospitals and dozens of clinics here, and it's still not enough. The people only complain that they're too small, not too big." Ju-di understood. He had been measuring it by the standards of the Great Ming's Imperial Hospital, but didn't realize Kyongjiao's hospital served all commoners. As he wondered if the people could afford it, Zhu Gaoxu leaned in. He whispered to Yu Qian, "Yu Zhanxi, where can I get those stockings? I want to buy a few pairs for someone." Yu Qian was stunned, then smiled. "You can find them anywhere on the street. Let's take care of your wound first." Just then, a shout came from outside. "Make way, there's an emergency." Several people rushed in with a stretcher. On it was a man impaled by a steel rebar. Ju-di frowned. "With such an injury, just let him go. Why torture him?" The surrounding commoners immediately gave him side-eyed glances. Yu Qian quickly whispered a reminder. "Your Highness, don't speak so rashly. In Kyongjo, an injury like this can be treated. It's a matter of life and death. Don't joke about it. Even an injury like this can be saved?" Judi's eyebrows shot up instantly. He looked towards the hospital, still full of doubt. Could it be that this hospital has a divine doctor who can bring the dead back to life? Not at all. Yu Qian shook his head. The only one in Kyongjo who can be called a divine doctor is the king of Cheong himself. Most doctors here are graduates from the medical school. They may struggle with major illnesses, but minor ones are no problem. That injured man will be treated by the king of Cheong's first batch of students. Their medical skills are quite good. With that, Yuqian went to the window to register for emergency surgery. Zhu Di stared at the registration slip from the window, puzzled again. This registration? What is it for? Registration is to record your name and make it easier to queue for treatment. The fee is included, Yuqian explained. A regular appointment is 5 wen. An emergency is 50 wen. Zhu Di was slightly shocked. In the Great Ming's Imperial Hospital, a consultation fee was at least several taels of silver. Qiangzhou was so cheap. As he was thinking, he saw doctors rushing about inside. Yuqian said, "It seems that man's injuries are serious. They need a specialist consultation. We'll have to wait." A worker could actually make the hospital take him so seriously? Zhu Gaoxu couldn't help but ask. In the Great Ming, the life of a commoner is far less important than a noble's. This kind of response is completely unheard of. Yuqian smiled. Qiangzhou operates on a people-first principle. The king of Qiang often says, "Don't think too highly of yourself and don't think too little of others." He also quotes, "Do not do to others what you would not want done to yourself." He demands that everyone, high and low, be treated the same. He takes the lead in paying taxes, so those under him naturally follow suit. In the hospital, they save lives first, regardless of social status. This left everyone speechless. Zhu Di, of course, knew the people-first principle. But in the Great Ming, the gentry didn't pay taxes, and no one cared if the commoners lived or died. How could they ever achieve what Qiangzhou had? He watched the busy figures inside the hospital, feeling that what his fourth son had accomplished was far beyond his understanding of governance. Grand construction and treating the common people well could actually coexist here. Arriving at the emergency waiting area, Zhu Di, once again, marveled, "My fourth son is truly remarkable." Yang Rong nodded immediately. The king of Qiang is a wise king. In his view, although you have overstepped your authority by appointing officials, opening new schools, and creating cheongsams and stockings, these are all measures suited to local conditions. In contrast, his people-first governance is the key. Taking the lead in paying taxes and treating everyone equally, these actions are enough to outweigh all minor controversies. Zhu Di teased, "You said before you didn't know the full picture, but you've changed your tune quickly." Yang Rong bowed. The ancient said, "See one spot and know the whole leopard. Just seeing this hospital reveals the king of Qiang's character." Zhu Di turned to Zhu Gaoxu and Zhu Zhanji, but saw Zhu Gaoxu's gaze wandering, staring at the legs of the passing nurses. The white stockings they wore had a certain charm that the black ones on the street lacked. "You scoundrel!" Zhu Di was furious. He slapped Zhu Gaoxu across the face. The crisp sound silenced the waiting area. Zhu Gaoxu, holding his face, was stunned. "Father, why did you hit me? What filth are you looking at?" Zhu Di roared. "I was just looking at some stockings." Zhu Gaoxu tried to argue when a sharp voice suddenly cut in. "Hey, how can you hit an injured person?" Everyone turned to see Yu Qian with a young woman in a white coat. The woman's brow was furrowed. "No matter how much of a scoundrel he is, you can't hit him. What if you made the wound worse?" With that, she turned to Zhu Gaoxu. "You're the patient, right? Come with me." Zhu Gaoxu was secretly delighted and quickly followed the woman. As he passed Zhu Di, he shot him a triumphant smile, infuriating Zhu Di. The great son of heaven was just publicly reprimanded by a young girl, and couldn't even retort. He could only glare at Huxian. He signaled for him to step in, but Huxian was aggrieved. The emperor had told him not to speak earlier, so how could he dare to step forward now? Zhu Di suppressed his anger and asked Yuqian, "Who is this girl?" Yuqian explained, "Her name is Jiang Wanyun from Chengzhou Prefecture. She's the specialist on duty and was the top student in the first graduating class of Qiangzhou's medical school." Zhu Di was still doubtful. "She's so young. Can she really treat my son?" "Rest assured, Your Highness. She is brilliant and was one of the first commoners to follow the king of Qiang south. Her medical skills are excellent. A small surgery like this is nothing for her." Zhu Di was taken aback. He remembered that when his fourth son went south, he had sent an imperial physician from Changzhou, Jiang Fu, to accompany him. Could this Jiang Wanyun be Jiang Fu's daughter? Hearing she was also his fourth son's personal disciple, he immediately stood up. "Let's go take a look." When the group followed Yuqian to the consultation room, Jiang Wanyun was examining Zhu Gaoxu's wound. How did this happen? Zhu Gaoxu, captivated by the fair-skinned beauty before him, whispered, "I hit it on a rock." Jiang Wanyun turned to get a bottle of white liquid. "I'll wash the wound first, then give you an anesthetic and stitch it up." Zhu Zhanji asked curiously, "What is that?" Yuqian explained, "This is alcohol, a high-concentration liquor. There are bacteria invisible to the naked eye that can cause inflammation if they enter the body. Alcohol kills them and prevents infection." Zhu Di's eyes lit up. On the battlefield, many soldiers died from infected wounds. If alcohol could be used for disinfection, it could reduce casualties. But Yukian continued, it must be distilled to a 60% concentration to be effective. Currently, only Kyongjo can produce it. Ju-Dis' nascent hopes sank again. He felt that for all the good things in Kyongjo, the Great Ming couldn't even meet the threshold to imitate them. Suddenly, a scream came from the consultation room. The group looked over. Jang Wan-yun was holding a cotton swab, frowning. You're a grown man. Why are you screaming? Why does this thing hurt so much? Ju Gaoshu clutched his head. This is hydrogen peroxide. It also disinfects, Jang Wan-yun said, shaking the bottle. When the king of Kyong was 17, he had a much larger wound and didn't make a sound. Aren't you ashamed? Provoked, Ju Gaoksu gritted his teeth. Just do what you have to do. But the next second, he screamed again. After the wound was cleaned, Jang Wan-yun wrote a slip and had Yuqian fetch anesthetic and a needle and thread. Soon, Yuqian returned with the supplies. Jang Wan-yun skillfully prepared the medicine and used a glass syringe to inject Ju Gaoksu. Seeing this, Ju-Di asked, what is she doing? This is an anesthetic. It makes a person lose partial sensation, so they won't feel pain during surgery. As soon as Yuqian finished, Zhang Fu, who had been silent, suddenly exclaimed, really? Does it really not hurt after anesthesia? Ju-Di also tensed up. Disinfection merely improves survival rates, but if anesthesia could truly stop pain, it would be a military asset that could change battlefield. Medicine and surgery. Anesthesia isn't completely painless. You'll still feel something, Yuqian explained to Zhang Fu, adding, anesthesia is divided into general and local. Local anesthesia only numbs the wound area. General anesthesia makes you unconscious and unable to move, like being drunk, so it can't be used on the battlefield. Zhang Fu was instantly disappointed. The light in Ju-Dis' eyes also dimmed. They had hoped anesthesia would make soldiers fearless of injury, but the side effects dashed that hope. However, Ju-Di quickly changed his perspective. Being able to reduce post-operative pain is still a great use. Treating the wounded is a part of war. This is like Hua Tuos Mafei-san. Yang Rong stroked his beard and said, history books say he could perform abdominal surgery. I used to think it was just a legend, but seeing Kyongzo's medicine, it seems to be true. You're right, sir, Yuqian agreed. Hua Tuo is the ancestor of Kyongju's medical arts. The king of Kyong revived these surgical techniques. Ju-Di then understood. If the medical skills came from a divine doctor's lineage, it was much more believable than a past life. At that moment, Jiang Wan-yun covered Ju Gaoksu's face with a thin cloth and began to suture the wound. Ju-Di asked, second son, does it hurt? Ju Gaoksu replied, father, it doesn't hurt. I just feel a numbness on my head. It's nothing like the stinging from that hydrogen peroxide. Ju-Di relaxed and led the group to wait in the corridor. He saw nurses constantly carrying out basins of bloody water from a room deep inside. It was the worker impaled by the rebar, still being treated. Such a severe injury, and they are still trying to save him. Kyongjo's medical practice is truly extraordinary, Ju-Di remarked. In the Great Ming, a case like this would have been abandoned long ago. He then turned to Yuqian. How many doctors like Miss Jiang does Kyongjo have, and how many years do they study? Yuqian replied, medical students study for 4 years and do a 1-year internship. There are over 200 graduates. There are another 5,400 students currently enrolled in the medical school. Over 1,000 can graduate each year. Ju-Di was shocked. In the Ming Imperial Hospital, it took at least 10 years for an apprentice to become a physician. In Kyongjo, it only took 5. He could train a doctor capable of performing surgery independently. At this rate, 1,200 doctors could provide medical care for an army of 120,000, potentially reducing the casualty rate to 1/3. He thought of the soldiers who died in the northern expeditions. Perhaps I should also establish a medical school when I return. But then he thought, he was already old. Even if he started now, how far could he lead the Great Ming? A sense of melancholy crept into his heart. Inside the room, Ju Gaoksu's face was covered. He only felt a small, gentle hand on his forehead and was filled with delight. No pain, and being treated by a female doctor. He even had the idea of building a hospital full of female doctors in his own fiefdom. As his mind wandered, he decided to strike up a conversation. Doctor, I haven't had the chance to ask for your name. Jiang Wan-yun chuckled. You must be new to Kyongjo. You still speak with old-fashioned etiquette. My name is Jiang Wan-yun. Ju Gaoksu wanted to show off his literary knowledge, but was at a loss for words. Seeing this, Jiang Wan-yun smiled. One as in charming eyes, Yun as in bamboo. Is that what you meant? Ju Gaokshu quickly agreed. Exactly. Then he pressed on. May I ask if you are married? At this, Jiang Wan-yun's voice turned cold. Why do you ask? Ju Gaokshu explained. It's just that, in the Great Ming, a lady like you would have been married long ago. Jiang Wan-yun continued suturing and said, we don't follow that in Kyongjo. We have freedom of marriage here. No one can be forced. If 2 people are in love, they can get registered. If their parents object, they can call the police, and the parents might be exiled from Cheongjo. Women can also work and earn money. They can support themselves in old age without marrying and aren't controlled by others. Zhu Gaoxu was stunned and asked, "What's the upper age limit for marriage?" Jiang Wanyun replied, 30 for men, 28 for women. If they can't find a match through matchmaking, they can remain single. After paying insurance for 20 years, they can retire. As she spoke, the surgery was finished. Jiang Wanyun gave him post-op instructions, but Zhu Gaoxu hadn't given up. "Miss, are you unmarried because no one has caught your eye?" Jiang Wanyun said calmly. As Xin Jiaxuan wrote, "I see the green mountains are so charming. In Cheongjo, it's often a case of the flower is willing, but the stream is not. There's no point in asking." Zhu Gaoxu's heart sank. After he came out, he was crestfallen. Zhu Dai urged him to leave, but he pulled Yu Qian to a corner and asked anxiously, "Yu Zhanxi, who has Miss Zhang's heart?" Yu Qian gave a wry smile. "To be honest, I don't know either. But there's a saying in Cheongjo. Many young women in Cheongjo are in love, and 8 or 9 out of 10 think of the king of Cheong." Zhu Gaoxu stood there, stunned, repeating the phrase. He never expected that the person Jiang Wanyun admired was his own fourth brother. The group left the hospital as the sun set. Yu Qian smiled and made arrangements. "First, he'll take you to the food street for dinner. After that, he'll take you to the guest house to rest." In the carriage, Zhu Gaoxu suddenly spoke up. "Father, the princess of Qiong isn't Hu Guang's daughter, is she? I heard that many young women here admire the king of Qiong. Has our fourth brother taken any concubines over the years? In the Ming imperial family, a prince can only take a concubine at 25 if he has no son. You're only 24. Taking a concubine would be against the rules." Yu Qian immediately understood his intentions. He smiled and replied, "The king of Qiong is very devoted. Since his marriage, he has only had one son and one daughter with the princess. They've spent much time apart, but he has never taken a concubine. Their bond is very strong." Hearing this, Zhu Di nodded with satisfaction, fondly remembering his 5-year-old grandson. Zhu Zhanji also sounded full of concern. Zhu Zhanji, who was listening beside them, felt a bit sour. He was about to change the subject when he smelled a strange aroma. "Grandfather, that smells wonderful." Zhu Zhanji sniffed the air. Zhu Dai and Zhu Gaoxu also came to their senses and asked about the source of the fragrance. "That's the aroma of hot pot," Yu Qian explained. "The scent comes from chili peppers, a crop from outside the region. It was an introduced crop. The spiciness helps drive out the dampness of Cheongjo. The king of Cheong loves to eat it, and the people followed suit. Now it's a local specialty." Hearing this, Zhu Di became interested and immediately ordered the carriage to stop. "Let's get out and try it." The group entered a private room in a hot pot restaurant. Yu Qian handed them a menu. As soon as Zhu Di opened it, he frowned. "The menu? How can it have beef?" At these words, everyone was shocked. In the Ming dynasty, draft cattle were strategic assets, and private slaughter was a serious crime. Zhu Di had always valued agriculture. This undoubtedly crossed his line. Zhu Gaoxu seized the opportunity to attack. Even the imperial court's meals don't include beef, yet the king of Cheong is leading the people to eat it, Yu Qian calmly explained. "You misunderstand, sir. This isn't draft cattle beef. It's dairy cattle beef. 6 years ago, we imported Holstein dairy cattle from the Franks. They are specifically for milk production and cannot be used for plowing. When their milk production declines, slaughtering them isn't a waste." Zhu Gaoxu was still skeptical. But Yang Rong stroked his beard and added, "Eunuch Sun Bao once said that the nobles of the Franks often eat steak. It seems there really is this kind of specialized cattle." This dispelled Zhu Di's doubts. He nodded. "In that case, let's try it." Zhu Di checked off fatty beef, meatballs, and other items, but when he saw tripe and intestines, he frowned. "These are entrails. Why would anyone eat them? Hot pot isn't complete without offal." Yu Qian smiled and said, "Tripe is the king of Qiong's favorite. After a quick dip, it's incredibly crispy." Hearing that his son liked it, Zhu Di checked it off as well. Soon, a yin-yang pot was brought to the table. The red broth was bubbling, and the white broth was rich. As they watched the red broth, Yu Qian demonstrated how to cook the tripe. 7 or 8 dips is enough. If you boil it for 9, it gets tough. After eating a piece, he looked satisfied. Seeing this, Zhang Fu followed suit. After putting it in his mouth, he first frowned, then his eyes lit up. Delicious, so delicious. Seeing his reaction, the others no longer hesitated, and their chopsticks all reached for the plate of tripe. Cries of amazement rose one after another in the private hot pot room. So hot, but no one's chopsticks stopped. Tripe and beef were cooked one after another. The 5, of military background, ate voraciously. Even Zhu Di, disregarding his imperial image, feasted heartily. The spiciness grew more intense with each bite. They were trapped in a cycle of wanting to eat but finding it too spicy, yet stopping made it even spicier. Finally, Judy put down his chopsticks to catch his breath. This is extremely spicy. It's delicious, but hard to eat a lot of. Zhu Zhangji's lips were bright red as he asked Yu Qian, "Is there anything to counter the spice?" "Yes, beer and coconut milk." Yu Qian ordered someone to bring the drinks. He first poured the coconut milk. Everyone took a sip, and the sweet, creamy flavor instantly dispelled the spiciness. Even Zhu Di nodded in praise. Then he looked at the beer, a yellowish liquid with foam on top. Zhu Di looked hesitant, so Zhu Zhangji took the initiative to try it. After a small sip, he frowned. It's bitter and astringent. Yu Qian smiled and demonstrated, "You have to drink beer properly to know its flavor." With that, he downed it in one go. Zhu Zhangji, smiling, followed his example and took a big gulp. He immediately felt a cool, sweet aftertaste and a great sense of refreshment. "It's good, I feel refreshed all over." Seeing this, Zhu Di also tried a cup. Indeed, the taste was unique. Everyone raised their cups and drank heartily. The beer relieved the spiciness and added to the lively atmosphere. The new round of eating and drinking became even more enjoyable. Even Zhu Gaoshu, who feared spicy food, couldn't resist having a few more glasses. Inside the private room, cups clinked. Outside, the city lights were coming on. It was bustling. Zhu Di, slightly drunk, leaned back inside. I suppose this is the peak of mortal prosperity. This lively, down-to-earth atmosphere was exactly what a prosperous age should look like in his mind. After they had eaten their fill, the group walked out of the hot pot restaurant. It was late at night, but the streets of Qiong Prefecture were brightly lit and bustling with people. Zhu Di asked in confusion, "It's still so lively at night. Qiong Prefecture has no curfew. It used to, but the urban curfew was abolished." Yu Qian explained, "The night market runs from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m., and it's open all night in the summer. It's convenient for workers and tourists at night, and it also lets people cool off on summer nights." Zhang Fu worried about security. "With this chaos, aren't you afraid of criminals?" Yu Qian smiled and said, "No need to worry. The penalties for theft in Qiong Prefecture are extremely severe. The people live and work in peace, just trying to make money. Crime isn't worth it. Besides, there are guards patrolling the streets, as well as plainclothes officers. Petty criminals have nowhere to hide." Zhu Di was still skeptical. That many guards must be expensive. Isn't it putting the cart before the horse just to accommodate the people? This isn't a waste, but a necessary expense. Yu Qian pointed to the night market stalls and said, "These 7 streets are Qiong Prefecture's cash cow. One night's tax revenue far exceeds that of many factories and fields. Maintaining the night market is a way to promote the economy." Zhu Gaoxu sneered, "These shops are all the private property of the king of Qiong, right? In the end, it's still about exploiting the people." "Wrong," Yu Qian retorted. "The king of Qiong pays 40% of the shop's gross profit as tax, which is used for public officials' salaries. The remaining 60% is all invested in public construction. The trains, factories, and hospitals all came from this. When money circulates, it improves people's lives and benefits the nation. It's not exploitation at all." These words left everyone speechless. Qiong Prefecture's economic logic, though contrary to the traditional concepts of the Great Ming, was a self-contained system. They couldn't refute it. Soon, the group arrived at the 5-story-high guest house. Yu Qian bid them farewell. "Please rest here. If you have any plans for tomorrow, just let me know, and I'll accompany you again." With that, he left. Zhu Di stood by the guest house window, looking at the myriad lights of Qiong Prefecture, his mind in turmoil. In one day, his initial disdain had completely transformed into shock and deep thought about the Qiong Prefecture model. From the customs office, train station, and hospital to the steel mill and night market, every part of Qiong Prefecture subverted his understanding of the Great Ming. What suffocated him even more were the governance and economic development policies being implemented. It was a path no one had ever walked before. In contrast, the Great Ming he had personally built, though it had learned from past dynasties, reformed its administration, strengthened its army, expanded its territory, and projected its power, was still stuck in an era of horse-drawn carts. It was fundamentally no different from the Tang and Song dynasties. He realized with despair that all the smart people in the Great Ming were buried in the 8-legged essay, with no one studying steam power, steel production, or medical reform. These were the things that could truly strengthen a nation. If another country took Qiong Prefecture's path first, the Great Ming would be in peril. Fortunately, this revolution came from his son, from the land of the Great Ming.